Kia ora koutou. Ko Angela Caves toko ingawa. No mai, haere mai. My name's Angela Caves and I'm the Digital Events Manager for Digital Boost, and I'd like to welcome you to the Business Growth and Support Virtual Conference for the top of the South and West Coast regions. This is session 2 on day 2 of our conference. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us in the webinar. It's wonderful to have you here. And we are welcoming our people joining us via live stream on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. All sessions of the conference are being recorded and will be uploaded to a YouTube playlist available for post-event viewing. The link to this will be distributed out to all registered attendees. I'd like to introduce James from Connected, our collaborating partner organisation. James will run through how the webinar is going to work and then introduce our presenting guests from the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Angela. Kia ora koutou to everyone, and welcome to this second session today. It's a real privilege to introduce Pete Caldwell, who is the General Manager from the Chamber of Commerce. And before I get started, if anyone has any questions that they want to ask Pete from the Chamber, please put it into the Q&A or the chat, which is at the bottom of your screen, and we'll ask those at the end of Pete's presentation. But the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce exists to unlock business vitality, supporting local business growth through effective promotion and business development opportunities, also providing support for export services and authorising documentation. As the Marlborough community grows, so does its directory of innovative, collaborative and community-engaged businesses, which not only strengthens networks but offers engagement opportunities for collaborative advocacy and success in Marlborough. The Marlborough Chamber of Commerce make it super easy to join and connect with other Marlborough-based businesses. So with that, I want to introduce Pete Caldwell, who's, as I said, the Chief Executive, the General Manager of the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce, and he'll go through what the Chamber of Commerce offers people and businesses of Marlborough. So over to you, Pete.
Kia ora, everyone. Nice to welcome you here today and to take you through a bit of what we do at the Chamber of Commerce. So as James and Angela have just said, I'm the CEO of the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce, and I'll talk you through what we do. So, most people have a view of what the Chamber of Commerce is, and they, I think, have this picture in their mind of 50-year-old guys sitting around a table and a kind of old boys club. And accepting the fact I'm a 50-year-old guy, the rest of the people here aren't, and that's great from my perspective, because we really are trying to do something a little bit different to what a lot of Chamber of Commerces do. So I'm going to take you through a number of things. First of all, what does the Chamber do? How do we support business in the region? Then talk about the benefits to members and why they should want to be part of the Chamber, but also to the wider business community and community as well, because we're not just trying to be involved in the business side of things, we're trying to look at the community side as well. And then I want to talk about a couple of projects, but the first one is an Academies project. So as James said, our aim is to make Marlborough not just the best place to do business, but also to work, live and train, which is a pretty lofty goal, but we are trying to do more, as I said, than just look at the business community and trying to just, I guess, spread our net a wee bit wider than that. So to talk you through what the Chamber does, the first bit is advocacy and support. So we've got 355 members, it says 352 there, but we've got a few more since then. And we're aiming to get that number back up to 500, which when you bear in mind there are within Marlborough 7,500 businesses, that doesn't sound like we've got a massive proportion, in that we've only got about 5% of the total businesses in the region. But because lots of those are small SMEs and 5,500 of them only have one employee, effectively the owner, when you look at the businesses that we have got who are members, that makes up about 70% of the region's GDP. So just looking at that advocacy and support, as I said, we represent over 70% of the region's GDP. And so we consider ourselves to be the voice for business, and luckily so does both local and national government, and also the media. So in terms of what goes on in the region, if there's a business story, there's a fair chance that I'll get a call to ask for a view on that. And hopefully that view is representing our members. We work with local government really closely. So we work with Marlborough District Council, pretty much hand in glove. I sit down with the mayor and the chief executive every month. So we've got a voice into that local government. But then in terms of national government, we bring a whole range of speakers down, which I'll go into later on, but both in government and then also the opposition. So we aim to be the first port of call. As I said, we've got then links to those government departments. The second bit that we do and try and really make a difference for a region is the level of training that we both put on, bring in, and try and encourage other providers to do. And the key bit about this is often people join the chamber and they think it's the business owner or the GM who's actually got the rights to go to the activities of the chamber. But this is realistically for every member of staff there. So we're doing a range of courses, health and safety 1 and 2, and health and safety for management. Within a bigger business of 50 people, say, there might be 8, 9 people who need to go on that health and safety 1 course, a couple who need to go on health and safety 2, and then maybe 1 person who needs to go on health and safety for management. We've got governance courses, a range of those now, because that's becoming more and more important, both for people who are on volunteer boards like school boards or, something like the Cancer Society, but also for businesses where they've got big enough that they think they need to have a board, but they're not really got the experience to understand just what they need to do in governance terms. And being on a board is something that comes with responsibilities and the need to understand exactly what you're accountable for. So those courses are intended to do that. We run a Prince 2 project management course, Prince 2 being the primary project management business tool that's used across Australasia. And so we've just added that to our range. There's then a range of marketing, social media, zero courses, immigration courses, which are getting more and more important for the region in terms of the number of not just RSE workers who are brought in, but also other people where we can't fill roles and we're needing to bring people in from outside. So understanding exactly what the immigration rules are, what you can and can't do, is really, really useful. And then as the last one, colour accounting is really a financial management course for non-financial people. So just trying to give everybody within a business a better understanding of how those finances work. Going on from that, funding, we have a thing called the Regional Business Partner. So we have a role within Chamber, a guy called Alistair Shawn, who's our growth advisor. And what he's there to do is take some government support from MB and then effectively work out the businesses where that money's most effectively going to be spent. And this is helping a really wide range of businesses. There's a real focus on small and medium-sized enterprises. And it's about unlocking management capability, about increasing management capability and trying to get some real step change in the business. And so if you're looking at that and you're thinking about some training that you might want to do, but you're looking at the money of that, well, it's worth a discussion with Alistair. We're also involved in Carnoa, which is the latest iteration of the Provincial Growth Fund. And we're there to try and help with the council and with our counterparts over the other side of the hills in Nelson to get the right people through, the right businesses through, to try and unlock some of that government funding. Because obviously the more investment we can bring into the top of the south, the better for all of us. We then have another role, the Education to Employment Broker role. Now, this is a Ministry of Social Development role. We manage that for them. And that's about linking or focused on linking education to businesses. So if you ask a school about how businesses are with their kids and where they're going, the school will often say, oh, the businesses haven't got a clue what the kids want to do today. And then if you ask the businesses their take on those students coming out, they'll say, well, the kids haven't got a clue. They can't get up on time. They can't turn up here. So there's a real schism between the two, and this role is about building bridges between those two and getting both parties to understand each other, so that hopefully what we can do is get students to understand what the pathways are into really good solid careers. And the final comment there, reducing NEET, so that's students who are not in or children who are not in education, employment or training. And even though we've got really low record levels of unemployment at the moment, which suggests that everybody who wants a job's got a job, we've still got high numbers of NEETs, and we want to do something about that. And this role is about trying to help that process. So what else do we do? Well, we hold a whole range of events through the year, networking breakfasts and lunchtime speakers, BA5s, which are business after 5. So that's just about getting business people together after 5 o'clock. So after the working day is largely done, and over a drink and coffee, understanding what some of the businesses, or as we did last time, we went to Fens, had a fire display, and obviously the crucial bit of putting the fire out, but going along to there so that you can both understand that business, whether that be a new boutique hotel that's opened, or whether it be something like the fire service and their need for volunteers, but also getting really good quality networking out of that as well. We've got the Business Excellence Awards coming up in November. So that's something where it really gives us the opportunity to showcase some of the differences and real growth that businesses have had around the region, to show what they're doing in sustainability terms, what they're doing in terms of profitability terms, and how they're looking after their staff. So that's really trying to show the best of business out there, so that hopefully some of the other businesses can use some of that best practice. One of the recent things we've added in is coffee and a catch-up. And when it was first suggested to me that we do one of these each month, sponsored by CPR, one of our local coffee shops, which is great, I thought we'd maybe get 2 or 3 people along. And every month there's 14, 15, 16 people coming in. Some of them are new members, so we might get a couple of people from those new members, but others are people who've been in the chamber for a long time and maybe not been to lots of things. So just them coming along, having a chance to chat about their business so that we understand much more intimately what they do, but also they get the opportunity to talk to us about the different things we do at the chamber. That's been a really, really useful process for both parts, understanding it better. And for us, one of the crucial elements is getting more engagement from our member businesses. So that's been very useful. We've just started Young Chamber. You'll not be surprised to know I'm nothing to do with that, but the younger people here are. And we anticipated with the first one of those, we might get 10, 15 people along, because for a lot of younger people, they might view the chamber as something that was not necessarily for them. We got 33 people along to that, and I think we'll get 50 to next month's Young Chamber event. We've done a tech meetup, the first one of those a couple of weeks ago, and again, 35 people along to that. And I'll talk a bit more about technology later on, but this for me is we've got businesses in the region who are supporting our primary industries, which drives our economy here, and putting really innovative ideas into those. So AI going into vineyards, where it's looking so that you can put the right piece of kit on the front of a tractor, it can go up and down the rows and tell you where the disease pressure is. So this is about using technology in its most productive sense, so that we can really add to the productivity of the region. To then talk about the Chamber Hub, I did think about wandering around with the computer to show you what we've got here, but to just describe it, it's not just a bog standard office. We've got the main office area where we sit, and then a hot desking area for 10 people, a range of meeting rooms that can be hired out for the day or just for the hour. So some of our businesses would sit there and go, I've got to have a disciplinary, or I want to have a strategy day. So you might have one where you just want privacy, and another one where you want to get out of the office and be in a slightly more creative environment, rather than having somebody coming in giving you the problems of the business through the day. And as I say, they can be rented for an hour or the full day or half a day. So we've got a training room that takes 20, the boardroom that I'm sitting in at the moment that takes 15, 16, and then 2 other business rooms that take 4 to 5 people. So that's been a really useful point for us, because what we get now is more of our members interacting and engaging with us. We've got quite a few members who might live 20 Ks away. So when they come in from 20, 25 Ks away from Seddon or Havelock or Canvastown, they get into town and they would normally just sit in a coffee shop and nurse a coffee for a long time. Whereas once they're members of the chamber, the hot desking is free. They can come along, sit here, have a coffee, make the calls they need to, free Wi-Fi, print if they need to, and it's effectively an office away from either their other office or away from their home office. The next point I want to make is really that we're not just about commerce. So commerce is in the title, and that's what everyone expects us to do. But we're doing, as a chamber here, quite a lot more in the community sphere, and really where those two overlap, so community and commerce overlap. So we're trying to do something that's a little bit outside the traditional view, because we're aiming to make Marlborough better overall. Not in the past, we would have said we're aiming to make Marlborough better as a place to do business. Now it's broader than that. And I'll go on to a few of these. So the academies and Empower Coding Festival, and just talk more about those. But also sustainability that wouldn't have been mentioned in most chambers 10, 15 years ago is now absolutely front and center for us. We all see what's happening outside in terms of climate change. And so that sustainability for us is not something that we should passively just sit here and report on. We need to be here helping the business community of the region to step forward and drive forward in sustainability terms. Productivity, we know it's a challenge across the whole of New Zealand, and it's certainly a challenge for us as a region that we're not as high as they are, as productivity is in lots of the OECD. So that's one of the focuses for us. And then innovation, and I'll talk a bit more about a tech hub that we're hoping with council we're working on at the moment. So what are the benefits to people? Well, to just explain how, say, the advocacy and support actually has worked in the last few months. We had one example where Grant Robertson came along and described or in a press release, and then to the press or to the media, talked about the COVID support payments. And I was sitting there watching that. And when he said, this is how it's going to work for the latest set of COVID support payments, I was sitting there thinking, I don't think any of our businesses can get that because of the way he phrased it. So I checked on the website. It was phrased exactly the same, checked elsewhere and got the same view. I asked a range of government departments to try and find out what was happening. And I asked our Auckland chamber, because that's a massive chamber. And I got the same answer from everyone. No, it's correct. Anyway, I then decided that I'd go direct to the Deputy PM's office. We've had Grant Robertson down before, got the contact details, went straight through. Within half an hour, we had the answer, oh, sorry, we got that wrong. We said it the wrong way round. Now, I'm not suggesting that's just because of the advocacy of the Marlborough Chamber, but I'm sure it helped. And it may just be because of that advocacy, because everybody else had it the other way around. So we were able to be the squeaky wheel there and actually make sure that the press release that then went out was amended. And then from that point of view, one of my concerns was that a lot of businesses, because this had taken a day or so in total to get to that stage, a lot of businesses might have asked their bookkeeper or their accountant whether they qualified for it. And their accountant and bookkeeper would have said, no, you don't. You just don't qualify. Well, that was $16,000 to quite a few small and medium-sized enterprises, which could have been the difference between going under or getting through. So a little bit of advocacy in that case went a long way. As I said, we've got, I think, a pretty good influence and conversation with Marlborough District Council. We work really, really well with those guys, and particularly with the Regional Economic Development Department, where we ourselves, along with Business Trust Marlborough, would be involved in lots of the things that the council do. In terms of the benefits of training, that's about working on your business rather than working in your business. We put on really high quality training courses. We make sure our people have been on those before we start giving them out to our members, so that we understand just what the quality of them are. They're heavily discounted. If you look at our pricing compared to the rest of the market, our members get very, very good rates on those training courses. And I think one of the other points I'd want to make there, the latest employment numbers for Marlborough are record lows. We all know that. We're facing a really, really tough employment market at this moment in time. And it's a damn sight cheaper to retain staff than it is to recruit staff once people have left. So obviously that puts some pressure in terms of wages, but there are other things that you can do that make a real difference to retention. And one of the biggest, simplest things that any business can do to retain staff is invest in professional development. And so for us, being able to help drive the amount that's spent on professional development in the region is a real focus, because it's that helps you build your business's capability and take it forward. And I think for a lot of businesses that start up as one person and it goes well, and then they get more business than they can cope with, they add another person in and it's still going well, but then they add 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people, and then the lack of processes or understanding of those business processes can make it be very, very hard to continue to be successful or to continue to grow. And for me, it's training, it's working on that business and working on the people who work for you in the business that can really give you that step change in a performance of a business. In terms of the funding, so I talked about the regional business partner. The key bit of that is that if you have a conversation, excuse me, with Alistair, and you decide that you want to do some form of training, some form of increasing management capability, then there's up to 50% of funding for that capability building program that can be funded by the government. It doesn't mean you'll always get 50%. It might be 30%, 25%. But we've got a lot of people who will come along and say, I've got this $2,500 course, which feels pretty hefty. And they might get $1,000 of that if they qualify of that funding from the government. So that's funding courses like Icehouse, strategic reviews, building leadership, project management courses. All of those can potentially get some funding, which makes it easier for the business to grow. And that's one of the reasons that the government are putting money into that scheme, because they want to drive business capability. What are the benefits in the events? I mean, why would people go? Well, the simple thing is really good speakers. Chris Luxon, I haven't put Jacinda on there, but she's been David Seymour, Grant Robertson, I've already mentioned, Mike Roger, Emma Twiggs, rowing coach. So we're trying to get elite sports coaches along as well, because often a lot of what they talk about is directly applicable to business and can really make a difference there. We've got Dr. Ganesh Nana, the head of the Productivity Commission, coming in the next few weeks. James Coddington from Skills VR, which he's flying in from America to do this, not just for this, but for an event that we've got. So there's 2 bits to this for me. One is that you get real access to them. So you can look Chris Luxon or Judith Collins or David Seymour in the eye, talk to them directly, have a yarn, get the feel of who that person is. And it's that level of, I think, intimate connection that you can get that you can't get almost anywhere else in the world. I mean, we've got a guy from America, and he came along when Judith Collins was there and said, you just couldn't do this in any state level, let alone a higher level. So I think those events make a real difference. They're also great networking with the business people who are there, and also a brilliant way to entertain your customers or prospective customers, because you can bring them along to that. You've effectively got them as a captive audience for an hour and a half. We're about promoting and growing businesses and networks. So we've got direct marketing to all of the members out there and to the wider regional business network. And that, for me, when you look with the largest business network in the region, that makes a real difference in terms of the access that you get to people out there. Business and staff discounts. Now, this is one that often we don't make enough of, because for a business to come into this, we've got 30 local businesses who offer specifically good, detailed, deep discounts for members. But then we have some national deals as well. And I'll focus on one of those, the Noel Leeming deal. If you go in and you're not buying the big name brands, so by that I mean you're not buying Apple, but you might be buying JBL, you can get 30 to 40% off. So in terms of a small business that might be paying $300 a year to be a member of the chamber, you can save that in 2 or 3 shopping expeditions to Noel Leeming quite easily. And again, that's not just for the owner of the business or the manager of the business, that's for all the staff of the business. So that can be a really beneficial discount. All of those ones can. So I just want to talk about the Academies project for a while. So I mentioned that we've got this education to employment broker. It's a guy called Chris Shaw, who regionally has been involved in quite a lot of events. So he was one of the founders of Feast, or the founder of Feast, and also the Vineyard Half Marathon, which he owned for quite some years. Chris's role, as I said, is about primarily getting NEETs into training or on and then on to work. But what we've seen really is that there's a massive short, medium and long-term need for quality tradespeople in the region. We've got this Somerset retirement village going on. We've got the co-located colleges. We've got the port, just to name the 3 biggest ones. And that's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment. And we think we're going to be 1,800 plus people short to build those. So Chris has looked all around the country at different models of where they're doing things in schools that's making a difference to the quality and quantity of apprentices who are going out into business. And the one he chose was the Hastings Boys High model. So this is a decile 2 school, very similar in size, 1,100 kids to Marlborough Boys College and Marlborough Girls College. We're working with Marlborough Boys College, Marlborough Girls and Queen Charlotte, and some amazingly supportive businesses. And basically what they did there was, one local engineering guy said, I've had 3 apprentices from that school. None of them have worked out. I've sacked them all. It's been hopeless for us. So he walked in to see the school principal and he said, look, your fault. I've had 3 apprentices and none of them have worked out. My fault. I've sacked them all. So we're both in the wrong here. What do we do? How can we make this different? And I'm standing here as a businessman. I want to help you make a difference to your school. So they talked it through. And the budget for that school in terms of their tech department was a couple of grand. That's all they had for all the materials that they needed each year. So as a result of that, they were making very small, small metal objects each year. That's really all they were doing. And they get to the end of it and they would have done a bit of welding, but very little. So what he said was, he went and had a look at the setup they got and he said, you can't train anyone to a level where they'll be useful the first day they turn up at work. So we should make that one of the things that we aim to do. And we should make sure these kids can go out and do work experience that is going to be really beneficial to them, but also really beneficial to the businesses they end up in. So now that same college has had $450,000 worth of gear and material put into it over the last 4 years by a collection of businesses. This one fellow has got the whole region behind this scheme, so that they are now doing more welding in a day than they used to do in a year. The quality of these kids going into their jobs just means that actually they're going and doing work experience, and the people in the businesses want them to start straight away. So it's been a really an amazing project that they've done. You hear those guys speak and it is hugely encouraging and just makes you want to be part of it. And so now we're doing that here. Traditionally, this wouldn't have sat with the chamber, but again, we just figure it's one of those things we can make. Hopefully we can help facilitate and make a real difference for the region going forward, and for those kids who might have fallen through the cracks, whereas now they won't, because we're not trying to get them into a minimum wage job. We're trying to get them into long-term career paths. And as one illustration of that, in terms of the quality of jobs that they can get, one of the young lads there specialized in the CAD side of things, the design side of things, rather than the fabrication. And they said that his opening salary will be north of $100,000 once he gets into it. And the fabricators are all earning, who are going on to jobs, are earning really, really good money. So that's been a very exciting project that we're working on at the moment. We've then got Empower Coding and Esports Festival, which again is a little bit different to what's done by most chambers, I guess. So one of our staff here, Zoe, had the germ of an idea, just said, oh, we should have I don't know, a coding event. And why can't we do more for coding instead of people thinking that gamers and people doing esports is a waste of time, that they realize that those native skills that they're getting whilst they're playing those games might have real life application in the job world of the future. So the conversation started, what if and why not? When it was first pitched to me, 2-day festival, maybe it was a budget of 10 grand, something like that. And I said, well, we've got to find a way to get some funding for that. But I wasn't too scared because it was 10 grand. I was sure we could get the funds for that. But if, when it had been pitched to me, they'd said it was going to grow to a 150 grand budget, I would have had a small heart attack, if you can have a small heart attack, because that would have frightened the living daylights out of me. But now, only a case of a few months later from where we started, that's now fully funded by a whole range of government departments, by the Regional Development Fund, by Marlborough District Council, MOE, MSD, pretty much a whole range of 3-letter acronyms, but government departments stumping up real serious cash to fund this festival. We're looking, it's going on at the end of August, on the 26th, 27th of August. We're aiming for between 500 and 1,000 students. We're absolutely confident we'll break the lower number. We're not sure we'll quite get to the 2,000. And that's students from across Tetoihu and the West Coast. So we've got kids coming on buses over from the West Coast and over from Nelson and Tasman, because this is about really showing people, apologies for the misspelling of opportunities there, the incredible opportunities that students can get in technology, AR, VR, AI, geospatial location, in engineering, really giving them an idea of just what roles and what kind of businesses there are there. So this will swap between Blenheim and Nelson each year, and it will grow into a very serious, I think it'll grow into one of the very biggest events across the top of the South Island. We've got presenters flying in from the USA and Malaysia. The students will get a chance to build robots, to program robots, to design aquabots, flying drones. They'll get a real chance to get immersed in all sorts of different technologies from amazing companies from around the world, to just give them an idea of what the future can hold for them in terms of the future of work. So again, something you might not think naturally would sit within the chamber, but from our perspective, this is about a key driver for the region and driver for productivity that we can help with. To just talk about the people that we've got. So Zoe Gray is hugely experienced in terms of membership and particularly events. So she used to be the director of international students at Marlborough Girls College. We've got Louisa Murray, who is our office manager, who is just skilled at such a wide range of aspects of both running the office, back end of websites, front end of websites, across the whole of technology, and has made the two of them have made a massive difference to the chamber in the last year. Chris Shaw, the education to employment broker, without his vision and drive, we'd never have got to the stage we've got to with Empower at this moment in time. And then Alistair joined us as the growth advisor, and he's just doing a really brilliant job talking to businesses, finding the right route through, giving them the right advice to build their business, and where it's appropriate, helping them in terms of unlocking some of that RBP funding. So just in summary, we're trying to do a bit more than the standard chamber. I hope I've got that across in the last 25 minutes or so. We're focused on adding value, not just to our members, but also to the community. But we obviously focus on our members and doing work for them. And realistically, we see ourselves as, I guess, the concierge service for the region. So somebody will come in, they need a job. Someone else will come in, they need somebody to do that job, and we can put them together. Two businesses are looking for support in one area, we can try and connect them together. So we're always just trying to find round pegs for round holes. We work really well with a whole range of people across the top of the South, and we work, hand in glove with Nelson Tasman Chamber because we want to be as effective as we can. So if they do something that works really well, like their Aspire conference, then we want to try and do something alongside with them. When we do something well, like Empower, we want to share it there. So we think by working together, we can solve some pretty big problems for the region, and we can be part of that solution. So hopefully, if you're a business person out there and you've hopefully heard that that's something you would want to be part of. Now, you don't have to be a member to get lots of the benefits. So say the RBP funding, you don't need to be a member for that. But for some of the training courses, you get significantly cheaper training courses by being a member. You get free entrance to the business hub here and just much more engagement with the chamber. So yes, you can get involved as a non-member, but it's a lot cheaper if you are a member. So just to sum up, it'd be great to see more of you as members, and hopefully I've given you an idea of what the chamber does in Marlborough and what we might be able to do for businesses. So that's the end for me. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Pete. That's awesome. So just some questions to come through. So what do you think is the number one benefit for joining the Chamber of Commerce?
I think the biggest benefit is the networking. It is understanding the range of businesses that there are in the region and learning from them. So for me, getting along to a whole range of those events is the single biggest, probably. That's the one that can really make a difference. So is it just for larger businesses, or No. So we have lots of small and medium-sized enterprises. As I said, of the 7,500 businesses in the region, 5,500 only have one employee. So we've got single-person businesses, and we've got 200+ people businesses. It works across the spectrum. So if I was a member and I had more than one staff member, I had 2 or 3. If there was an event coming up, could I get one of my staff members to go along, or is it just restricted to me as the business owner or manager? You could get one of your staff members to go along, or 10 of you could go along. From our point of view, it's the more the merrier. So we realistically, as I said, we don't ideally want it to just be about the relationship between me as the CE and the owner of a business. That's often how chambers have worked in the past. But now what we're seeing is 4 people from a business come along, or 4 people and they're bringing 2 or 3 customers. And that, from our perspective, is ideal. We want, when Chris Luxon comes down, or Jacinda comes down, or any of the speakers that we've got, Ganesh Nana, we want to get a range of business people in front of them. And that's what we're trying to do, is get as many people engaged as possible. So in terms of what the Chamber offers, those SMEs and things like that, I mean, are you able to help with your connections to the councils? You talked about those big projects that are on the cards for Marlborough. Are you going to in a position to leverage some of your contacts within the systems to help Marlborough's SMEs to be part of those big construction events? I guess it's less about leveraging those contacts than leveraging the knowledge of who you need to talk to, of where you need to go. So what I do find is the more we connect businesses with local government, or we connect businesses together, that those opportunities are much greater. So it's not as though I can say, oh, talk to such and such, you'll be straight in there, because that would be inappropriate. But we can say, this is how the process works, and hopefully try and short circuit that. So I'll get a lot of calls where somebody will say, how does this work? Who do I speak to about that? And with a lot of them, the answer is, I have not got the faintest idea. But that's what we do as a chamber. That's where I'll go off the phone. I generally don't say I haven't got the faintest idea, but I'll usually say, we're going to find that out for you. So let us do some digging. And it's then when you leverage those contacts that you can find the right route through. You can find the quickest way to get things done, and hopefully make it simpler for people, for business people, so that they don't have to spend the time solving that problem. And then we can share that same solution with lots of different businesses.
Now, I know you help out with international exporting documentation and things like that. Would you have contacts within the Chamber's network that would help an SME, say, do an application on GETS or do an application for some sort of tendering process, or even some application for funding through a NGO or through a government agency?
Yeah, all of those we can help with. And the other thing I should say, just in the simplest terms, we've got a big export region here, and I should have made more of this. So we do the export certs for wine, for forestry, for a whole range of businesses who are moving goods and services abroad. And so that for us is wanting to make sure we're certified to do those e-certs. And we try and turn those around really, really quickly so that people can get that wine or forestry on the water as quickly as they can. But also in terms of those links to other, I guess one of the main ones there, James, is funding streams. So I talked about Carnoa, what was the Provincial Growth Fund, but again, understanding through Callaghan Innovation, understanding through NZTE, through MB, the different streams of funding that might be out there. Hopefully we can say to a business, I think if you try here, here and here, or here and there, that will be the best opportunity for you. And sometimes that's a case of saying you don't qualify, and being quick so that they know they don't qualify from the get-go so that they don't waste too much time.
That's brilliant. Well, how easy? My last question, I suppose, is how easy is it to join the Chamber of Commerce? If we've got anyone who's watching is interested in joining the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce, I mean, how easy is it to do that?
If somebody finished this call and they went on the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce website, they could join within about 35 seconds, I would think, or maybe a minute and a half. But really easy. As I said, for a small business, it's about $300 a month, and it goes up depending upon the number of FTEs, but it's still not a tremendous amount of money, but very easy to join up. And then we'd invite you along to the coffee and catch up, get people in so that they understand what they can get and really get a feel for the Chamber. But I'd encourage anybody out there who thinks that some of the things we spoke about were relevant to them to join the Chamber.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that, Pete. And I will pass you back to Angela. So, kia ora, thank you.
Kia ora, thanks, James.
Thanks, James. Yeah, and if I can just add my thanks to James's there, Pete. It's been wonderful to hear what the Marlborough Chamber is involved with, and such a huge umbrella of what you kind of cover. Is particularly interested in and fascinated by the work you're doing with rangatahi there at the young adult space. I think it's really, really encouraging to see that there's work being done in that space to help them get sustainable employment. So yeah, what a wonderful, must be really, really rewarding each day that you go home.
It absolutely is. I mean, James asked me earlier, do I enjoy the job? And the honest answer is I absolutely love it. It's a great set of people. I genuinely think we're making a difference. We're not just doing what was always done, because it's easy to do that and just say, well, we'll just put a couple of events on and we'll go and have drinks and nibbles. But we're trying to do a hell of a lot more than that. And that's what gets us all up in the morning. And that's what I think gives the energy that we've got at the Chamber.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, just thank you again for coming and sharing all that. And I do hope our viewers have been able to take all of that on board and are really encouraged, and you'll have some memberships signing up over the next couple of days. Would be wonderful.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. If anybody has attended or is listening post the live event, and you forget anything and everything, and you need somewhere to go, Connected will be able to support you. So James is in the Marlborough region there, and he will be able to help you make that connection into the Chamber if you need it. And we've got a few other employment liaison advisors from Connected who are able to support you as well. Digital Boost is here to support your organisations with the digital transformation. So we're here supporting this conference and supporting the ecosystem that is the business community to help you with your next steps in that digital transformation. We've got a tool called Checkable that if you have a website at the moment or a digital presence, I do encourage you to sign up to Digital Boost and use Checkable. It will help you take stock of where your business is at currently and help you sort out an action plan as well. That does bring our session to a close. So once again, thanks so much, Pete, for joining us and sharing all about the Chamber. Up next at 2 o'clock, we've got the Nelson Tasman Chamber. So if you are, from that region, please also join us there. Then this afternoon, we've got the Nelson Regional Development Agency at 3 o'clock, and our final session at 4 o'clock will be with Development West Coast. Once again, thank you all for joining us, whether you've joined us on the webinar here or via our live stream. It's been a pleasure to host you this afternoon, and I wish you all a good afternoon. Thank you.